welcome our special guest, Leslie Flowers. Before we begin, here's a quick look at the ground we're standing on tonight.
The Civil Rights Movement ignited in 1954 after Brown v. Board. It caught fire after the murder of Emmett Till and the Montgomery bus boycott. The black community led the movement from day one. MLK pushed nonviolence, Malcolm X pushed human rights and self-determination. Others joined in solidarity. Jewish activists, white clergy, Latino and Hispanic leaders, Asian American organizers, Native advocates, labor unions, college students, civil rights lawyers. Women's rights have their own long fight. Beginning in 1848 with Seneca Falls, winning the vote in 1920, surging again in the 1960s and again Santa Claus. Women blocked from credit or home ownership before 1974. Pregnant workers pushed out. Almost no legal protections until equal rights laws rose up. Our nation has grown through the decades. School segregation struck down in the 1950s. Major civil rights laws passed in 1960s. Interracial marriage legalized in 1967. Fair housing in 1968. Titleized sex in 1972. Equal credit opportunity in 1974. Disability protections in 1990. LGBTQ visibility in the Clean Islands. Marriage equality in 2015. Renewed civil rights energy in 2020. But we're also facing a heavy truth. Voting rights under attack. Programs cut, affirmative action dismantled, women's rights rolled backward, LGBTQ protections weakened, housing discrimination creeping back, less oversight means more abuse, pulling apart decades of progress creates deeper inequality. That's why tonight matters. That's why Leslie Flowers is here. And that's why you're here. So buckle in. Open your mind. Feel this moment. Because now, ladies and gentlemen, the show begins. Welcome to UB Live. People crying on the city street. Another headline, another broken beat. We've been talking all these years, but the song of justice keeps drowning in fear. Can you hear it? The rhythm of change. It's a brand new time, but it feels the same. Raise your voice, don't you hesitate, 'cause love's the weapon, and it ain't too late. What's pulling in? Before we see the light, what will it take to turn the wrongs to right? feel thin. Change don't start till we let love in. Oh, don't you feel that fire burning? Ooh, the world is finally turning. Can't hide from the truth inside. It's evolution of heart and mind. What will it take before we see the light? What will it take to turn the wrongs to right? Don't give me silence. Don't give me silence. Don't give me hate. Give me a future we can celebrate. It's 20 through the bell, y'all. But the question is the same. What will it What will it take? What will it take? Oh, what will it take? Oh, don't give me silence. Don't give me silence. Don't give me hate. Give me a future we can celebrate. Before we see the light, what will it take to turn the wrongs to right? Don't give me silence. Don't give me silence. Don't give me hate. Give me a future we can celebrate.
Hello, everyone. This is William Rochelle, but you can call me Bill, and welcome to UBU Live. I am so excited to have Ms. Leslie Flowers joining me on stage. How are you today, Leslie?
Oh, I'm wonderful this Sunday afternoon. Thank you for
so
inviting me.
much.
How about you? How about you? How are you?
I'm fantastic because this this topic is so rich, and it deals with more than just one group of people. It really pertains to all of us. And in this moment, it helps us to be aware. Women couldn't buy homes or get credit cards in 1974.
Hmm.
You know,
That's right.
Everything about the civil rights movements, the women's rights moment, it all brought us to where we are today.
Hmm.
And it's interesting how slowly but surely it's kind of, I'm not sure where we're going with it. And so I wanted to get your perspective from the history, and when did you first recognize the civil rights movement? Were you a part of it? What was your first memory of it?
Well, when I was 12 or 13, I remember our rabbi went to Selma, Alabama to march with Martin Luther King. And at that time, I was just a kid, really.
Mhm.
I was unaware of anything about that. But I will say that when he came back, he really illuminated everyone there as to what was really going on. So that was my first exposure when I became aware. I remember, Bill, my father asked me once when I was in high school, would you ever date a black boy? And I said, well, Daddy, I don't know any black boys.
Right.
So I'll leave it there and send it back to you.
Yeah, I understand that. And even up until, let me get my, y'all know me and dates, but even interracial marriage wasn't legal until 1967. So up until 1967, if you were a straight person and you wanted to get married, but to someone that was of a different race, you couldn't. So think about that, and then think about the fact that uh, the LGBTQ community just got those same rights just 10 years ago, right? 2015, I think it is. So this is fairly new for us, and this is territory where we really want to understand our history so that we don't repeat our history. And if we don't keep our eyes open, if we let things just slip away, and if we don't unite, then who are we as a community? I mean, really, who are we as a community if we're all living separately and only concerned about our own issues? Now, I was talking to my neighbor today. I said, "Oh, I'd love for you to come on," and she said she doesn't have great Wi-Fi, but she said, when she was growing up, there were men jobs and women jobs. So secretaries, she said nurses. There were no male nurses. She said that was considered a gender specific role, and the role of a woman back then, from what I'm recognizing, was more as a support than as a leader, and
Yes.
and that has changed significantly. Um, and in my opinion, for the good, for definitely for the good. How do you think it's impacted the society, and how do you think this the blowback we're getting today, where is that stemming from?
Well, I'm a big believer in universal law. And I think you really hit on the point, which is awareness. When we begin to become aware, and not everybody becomes aware at the same time, right? So there's a lot of frustration for those people who already are aware and they see all these things happening and feel a sense of frustration. But for those who aren't aware, it doesn't seem to phase them at all. So, what I know to be true is that we are now moving toward the upside. So, you can see the signs.
Yeah,
You like that? You like that?
well, in my opinion, we're about to take it all. Everything
Yeah.
is going to align properly, the way
Yes.
it should.
And it always does. The thing is, we don't know by when.
Right.
And that's what frustrates human beings, because we love to have a meaning for everything, right? It gives us clarity, and we can talk, right? So we know now that things are very rough in the United States and in many other countries. It's not just here. I think it's always happening in our universe all the time. This time it was our turn, right?
Yes.
And we worked all those decades, right? Step by step, as you pointed out in your wonderful newsletter, that it really is a mystery if you're unaware. And it's very easy now to look back and say, oh, okay, this happened then. And yes, I am totally intellectually aware of it now. But pretty much most of us are clueless as it's happening. And if you want to learn from the past, many people know about this and they don't learn from the past. And there are very specific reasons, which we can get into if you want to head that way.
Girl, I'm down. I want to learn. I
Okay.
want. My cousin told me, my mother's cousin told me that she's been here before. This is not new territory for her because she did the marches. I remember I remember going with my dad to Operation Push, which changed its name to the Rainbow Coalition, and meeting Jesse Jackson. But I had no idea who he was because I was
Right.
like 5, and my dad knew him, and and Operation Push turned into the Rainbow Coalition. And I don't know if the Rainbow Coalition still around or not, but that was part of the civil rights movement still going on in the 70s. So I was lucky enough to be born into the era where the civil rights movement had already taken place, right?
Mhm,
But there
mhm.
was still so much more to do. And my parents were activists, and so I guess I sort of am. I mean, I can't. Everyone always says, Bill, you may be impacting your ability to define something because you're too opinionated or you're sticking to your guns too hard about certain subjects. But in my opinion, I have certain values,
Mm,
and those values are that you and I are equal.
mhm.
That I don't care if you work for me or I work for you; it doesn't matter. And that everyone should live a life of dignity and have the basic necessities to get through the day. We're all works in progress. I've been here and I've been there and I've been here again. So it's not up to me to judge somebody. But do you feel as if we're taking a step backwards right now, or do you think that this is what we needed to unite?
I think that again, we didn't really have a choice. We do now. I mean, so it's hard to understand the good that will come out of this. People that are experiencing food shortages, not enough money for food. This is not, I mean, our country has always had these problems like any other country, but it seemed to reach a crescendo now, and it's the opposite of the way I grew up. It is the polar opposite, which is a universal law. That's
Right.
why I know that it's now, if you look at a big pendulum, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is how it all works. So where we are now is at the tipping point up here of the worst. I mean, people can't come to the United States, they're saying, because it's an unsafe place. What? That's okay. So now you start to observe each step, and you won't know by when, but if you're looking for it, if you're aware, you'll see the signs.
I'm seeing them very clearly,
Yes. Yeah. What are
very
some of the
clearly.
signs you've seen?
Me, I am. I hugged my neighbor who flew a Trump flag for years. He's not my neighbor. He's like maybe 3 blocks down, and he's always been nice to me. Right, like every time he's driving on the street, he always honks and he waves, and I always honk and wave. I like him. His name is Blaine, and but I've always had this little kind of like, why is he a Trump supporter? And so we just saw each other in the grocery store the other day. And this is when Melissa told me, start reaching out to people. And I was like, Plain, I want to give you a hug. And he's like, okay, sure. Why are you hugging me? I said, because, you fly this flag and I've had this, prejudice, right? Really, prejudice goes both ways of what or who I thought you were. And I want to let all of this go. And I want to say, let's live as united as one. I'm also seeing a lot of people that are saying that they didn't expect what they're getting today. Now
Yeah.
the problem I have with it, and I don't know if your family was affected by the Holocaust, but I
Yeah.
always I always thought to myself, how did the world allow the world allow this to happen? And in my opinion, the way that we're seeing people just get taken off the streets and then sent to Ecuador or Salvador or wherever they're at. People
Yeah.
don't know where they're at. These guys aren't even from there. I had a conversation with my neighbor, and this goes back to something that you said. And I like Blaine a lot. You know, he's a good guy. He offered me a free treat. Um, you know, it's quite different when you actually speak to people than just assuming things about them.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm, mhm.
but I this is Melissa Houston again, just get me in trouble. Um, I was walking my dogs and I went to another neighbor's house and we had coffee in his courtyard. And you said just now, you said, "Oh, my dad said, would you ever date a black guy?" And you said, "I don't know any." And that's it. You know, that's an honest answer. So I was talking to him and he said, he's having work done. He said, "Oh yeah, I got the Mexicans to do it." And I said, "Stop calling them the Mexicans." And he goes, "Oh, you're right." And the guy's actually Guatemalan. So it's like, you know, I wasn't afraid to correct him in that moment. I don't think his heart was in, I think his heart was in the right place. It's similar to, I struggle sometimes with all the letters and the LGBTQ and then the
Mhm.
he, she, him, them, they. So it's one of those situations. I'm a certain age and I'm not being rude. I'm just trying to understand our new pronouns and all these other things. So once I brought it to his attention, he said several different things. First, he said, "You know, it's a shame because these guys are afraid to come back to finish the job because they think they're going to get arrested." And he said they do really great work. So, what's a racial slur? Mexican?
No, it's really about being kind. You know, Jared had asked, what is one thing that we could do right now? If we could just stop and think about our kindest self,
Hmm.
rather than being taken over by our reactions, which unfortunately are driven by our biases, which we're not even aware of really unless we study it. So if we could have a mantra of kindness,
Hmm.
something to remind us that no matter what the situation is, or even to know if you come from a religious background, that for every failure there is a lesson, right? So how long will it take you to look at the failure before you realize, oh my goodness, it's the direct access to the lesson?
Mm,
So
yeah.
this is all more part of the awareness, I think. And I might have gotten a little off topic here, but I'll let you bring me
No,
back.
no, 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 no. You're right on topic, and
Okay.
that was great. What I want to do is I want to get to Lauren, because she said that's such a racial slur. So I want to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. So come on, Lauren. Let's work this out. Do you want to come on stage? I'll send you an invite. Um, how do we keep the momentum when society pushes back? Actually, that's not the question. You can answer that question. Go ahead.
Well, I can't, and we can do Lawrence too. You have to be clear of your values, and the thing is that values and their formation take decades, right? The values you had when you were in high school and college pretty much were the values that your parents had, right? Then in college, it seems like you get the values from people that come from all over the world or all over the country. So you're now exposed to their values, and then you decide which resonate or feels right with you one at a time, and you take them on and you kind of absorb them. So it's about your values, but they're always evolving. So that's probably the conundrum of all
Uh,
of this.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, how do we encourage more women to step into leadership roles? And I'm gonna say we'll both answer the question in our own way. I'm
Okay.
gonna say right now, in my opinion, um, it's not the women that we need to encourage. It is the system that we need to allow or make sure that the best and the brightest get to the top. And that's women, that's whoever's right for that position. Um, we're living in a society right now where uh, there's a conflict at the top. And the way that we speak to women, the way that we're talking to women, and when you have someone at the top that calls women pigs on live TV, and nobody, not one man stood up and said, "Sir, that's not right." Not one man. And the woman was brave enough to ask the question. Someone told me once, men have brute strength and women have courage. And there's a difference.
Yes, and how do we encourage? Women do need encouragement because look, for about 5 or 7 years, I worked specifically with women coming into 21st century business, and they come in deplete of the skills to be successful. They are not heard. And so for many years, I worked particularly with women to teach them how to build confidence, what success principles are, and how to use them in your everyday life, to practice them, to build the courage to ask for the job. Um, the problem is, you had asked something about a patriarchal society. You're not going to change everybody at the same time. So really, women came into 21st century business probably 75, 80s, in the 80s to 90s, when the divorce was like crazy. Okay, so now we're down to one parent family living in a two-parent required economic household, right? So that's where your latchkey thank you. Children came from, raising themselves, and the pressure on women to move into those leadership roles. But the problem is no one heard them because their behavior was like a bull in the china shop in business. The very simple, superficial behaviors that women had employed for decades, for hundreds of years, managing the household, nourishing, nurturing, managing, taking care of the boo-boos, right? Is not a fit for 21st century business, because men who have always set the tone or the context for business, they don't tell the whole story. They speak in bullet points. They don't wriggle and jiggle and show cleavage, right? They stand a certain way. They dress very simply. And women in that role, that's appropriate. So you have women coming in, right, pressured to make money. Their marriages are over. They're up to their eyeballs in bills, right? The kids are home by themselves and nobody's listening to them.
Yeah.
So we as women were required to become aware inside business. And that's where a lot of my work is building the confidence and illuminating these women that they are capable, but teaching them how to stop wiggling and jiggling, how to dress one step above the audience, how to speak in bullet points, as an example.
Yes. I want to talk to Lauren really quick. So,
Sure.
Lauren, this goes back to what Leslie said in the beginning when her dad asked about whether or not she dated a black guy. She didn't know a black guy. So what I want to say to you, Lauren, is we all need to stick up for each other, even when we're not there. So I'm black, right? Black. But the guy said the Mexican. And I was like, no, don't say that. And that's when, once we educate people, once we call them out, not in a rude way, not in saying that they're, effed up or anything else like that. Just like I was like, you need to stop using that you don't know how that sounds. And then he changed up and he was like, you're right. And they weren't even Mexican, they were Guatemalan. And so that's why I was like, yeah, you need to call them by their names and, not label people in a group. So,
Well, think about the labels for African American people or,
child,
or people from Asia. I mean, what am I calling you this decade? Right? How do I refer to you this decade?
so I just say black because that African American, we don't know where, we honestly don't know where we're from because we were stolen, right? So we could be from I could be from Africa. Or, I haven't done a 24andMe to kind of figure it all out.
Mhm.
And I'm sure there's all sorts of things inside of me. But if you understand our history,
Mm,
the one drop rule means that if you had one drop of black blood, then you were considered black and a mark on society. So um, I still go with it because that's how I was raised, and I was raised in this community of love and hope, and forgiveness and giving and caring. And I also, Lauren, think that what he said was not correct. However, like I like for people to see me for my uniqueness, not like a lot of people say, oh, I'm colorblind. That's great, but then you're not taking into account the fabric of everything that we've built. So you can acknowledge my community without being racist. Does that make sense?
mhm. It
Yeah.
does make
So
sense to
so
me.
there are certain cultures that I want to learn more about. There's certain foods I want to learn more about. When you travel, you recognize that we're all the same. Um, and I don't understand that in the 60s, we were all united, and now somehow we've gotten majorly divided again. And that comes from a narrative. That comes from someone else telling us who we're supposed to be.
That's right.
That comes from people putting terms on us, and we don't even know it. And I said this the other day, and this is about women, and it's about Black boys and Latino boys. So, um, and it got me really upset because if we're watching what's going on right now, and I'm just going to stop it there, we had some people saying that a, a woman is a woman at 14 now. And if you recall all of the Trayvon Martins and all those other things, that 14-year-old boy was considered a thug, a grown man. But then Kyle Rittenhouse, a young white kid with the AK-47 that drives across the line to a black protest and shoots people, he's a kid. So why is a 14-year-old woman, I want someone out there to answer this. Why is a 14-year-old woman, why is a 14-year-old girl considered a woman? Why is a black kid who does one thing wrong at 14 can be tried as a adult, but Kyle Rittenhouse with an AK-47 driven across state lines by his mother is considered a kid at 30?
Yeah.
It's the narrative.
Well, it is. And it's, the bullies are raised by bullies. If you think about it, what does he say? It's the level of confusion because of that people should not take it personally, educate and being offended. There were times when I did not know if I was Spanish, Latina.
Right, right. Yeah, that's why I just settled with black. And people are like, but you're not. Yes, I am culturally.
I think it's about what you're talking about is being diplomatic, which takes awareness. To be sensitive, how using a term off the cuff that you've heard other people use, that somehow you will do it automatically without thinking. But we learn this mostly from our parents and our families. And where do you think they got it from? Their parents. And right now, there's a domination of disrespect for all people that aren't white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, right? If you're not that, then there's something wrong with you according to those who are in power right now. But we know that's wrong. That's why I know that the universe and God will move the pendulum and has already begun, because that is how our universe works. I mean, when I was in middle school, we moved from Massachusetts to North Carolina, and North Carolina is one of the most bigoted states. Sorry for people listening. There's plenty of them, but they're filled with ignorant people that are around ignorant people for decades, and right, so they really don't know any better. We can understand that, but what's going on now, we do know better. And what I remember, my mother-in-law worked in the local cleaners in a very small town, 500 people. And I had to listen to her using the N word as though it was the and it wasn't even used meanly, like in a caustic way.
Right.
That was just their name, right?
Mhm.
And because they were totally ignorant of the pain that was caused, they needed to get some distance from it, right, to be objective. And it really takes something to stand up for this. And I will tell you, what bothers me the most is that we all did the work in the
Yes.
60s and 70s and 80s, so that if I wanted to have an abortion, I could. If my children, son or daughter, got into a situation and they chose to have an abortion, they had that choice. What changes everything is that if you don't have the choice, you can't go to work, you can't get the leadership roles. So the frustration for me is I'm tired. I don't want to go out there and march like I did all those years ago.
Yeah.
And it's your turn. And I have 4 grandchildren, and 2 of the girls voted. And I think they both voted for Trump because of the grandparents, not me, but their parents. One of the parents or the grandparents were super Republicans. That's all they heard. Nana would tell them, oh, no, 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 no. But they tended to lean toward the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
also looked up, to see has there ever been a full-blown matriarchy in the world as we know it? No.
Never. But
Never.
we're the only are we the only country that's never had a female president?
Oh,
Which
don't
I
know.
find let's go through it real quick. So
Sure.
New Zealand has, Mexico has,
Oh, yeah.
Germany has, United Kingdom has Margaret Thatcher,
India.
India. Yeah, we're the only one. And we're supposed to be the most progressive. So what does like make
Supposed
it make
to be.
sense? Make it make sense for me.
Okay, I'll make it make sense. So this is part of the process, the awakening, right? More and more people now, men and women, are moving from, the 50s woman at home. Gosh, I was in business during Mad Men. That's who I
Right.
was, right? That was so perfect. And I was a stewardess in the 60s. And
My
even
aunt
then,
was too. Which airline?
Northwest Airlines, and then
Oh.
charter airlines taking troops into and out of Vietnam in the 60s.
So my aunt was I think the first Black flight attendant for American Airlines.
Wow.
And
Wow.
back it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
And it was I was old enough. I'm not in the 60s, guys. I wasn't born into the 80s. However, why are you laughing?
No, it was a laughter of recognition.
Okay, thank you. But see, I'm squirrel. So what was I saying? No, I'm just joking.
We're talking about your aunt when you were
Oh.
you hadn't been born, but she had, and
But
she was
had. And sh-
stewardess.
and during that decade
Mhm.
of the 70s, I remember even on television, they said, "Oh, what is she? Is she a model? Is she a stewardess, or is she a movie star?" And all, like, if that was it. Like, if you were a stewardess or you worked for the airlines, you were just like upper echelon and almost treated like royalty because you were flying all over the world. And back then in the 70s, people weren't doing it, so her life seemed glamorous. Um, the
It was
travel and
pretty
everything.
it was glamorous.
Was
It
it?
it was freeing. I mean, I flew US, but I also flew troops into Vietnam where I got to spend 2 days layover in Hawaii, 2 days layover in the Philippines, drop them off in Vietnam, pick up the guys going home, and then spend a day or 2 in Japan before heading home through, Travis Air Force Base or Fort Dix in New Jersey. So it was so much fun. And it really, I was living in San Francisco at the time, down a few blocks from Janis Joplin. This was the heyday of the 60s. And I would drive across the Bay Bridge in my convertible, my Triumph TR3 1960.
Oh, that's a great
At
car.
night, I had 2 of them, and at night across the Oakland Bay Bridge when we get back singing um, uh, a Cream song, if you remember Fresh Cream. Um, in a dark room with black curtains.
I
Anyway,
don't.
singing at the top of my lungs after spending 10 days all around the world and coming home to my beautiful little apartment in San Francisco to wait for the next flight. So it was we had such a great time, but there weren't many of us, right?
Right.
There weren't many of us. So I'm not sure where we were going. Oh, I was telling
Oh,
you how we solve it, or did I go past that?
well, we talked about the airlines, and then
Yes.
I interjected and said my aunt was a because I was trying to figure out if you guys were on the same airline.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We probably, but I was very courageous that way. That has always been my nature. I usually have the cart before the horse, right? When I'm inspired, and then I have to back up and put the horse before the cart. But I've always been very great at coming up with ideas and pretty lazy about completing them. That's why I created the 12 laws of achievement. And that was who I was up until about 25 years ago. And this
Okay.
last 5 years has all been deep study rather than reading every book in sight, reading one book year after year after year to become an expert and to absorb the processes. And I'm speaking of Think and Grow Rich, which is the #2 bestseller of all time, and which is the principles of success. The answer to all these questions is there, but one must be ready and willing to put in the time. And that's not who we are. We've lost focus and concentration. So, one of the things that I do is get people to understand the power of one big goal at a time, not to be confused with the tasks to reach it. You can call them little goals, but by doing something one at a time, because we have a sensory overload of possibilities. It's an exciting world. I mean, there's a million things to do. However, if you want consistent results, then you want to do one thing over and over until you get it right. Then it's part of you and you can reproduce it. It's easy
Right.
to do. But if you don't, no one ever learned how to set a goal. I have asked for 20 years. Nobody took a course. So our parents didn't know, our grandparents didn't know, the teachers didn't know. It's not unlike people that are in neuro and get degrees from university. They have no clue about the mind.
Mm.
They collapse brain and mind together, and they don't like to be told or to become aware of that the mind is quite distinct and it's what controls the brain. They don't like that because they've never learned it. So Out of confusion comes clarity. So when you do the one goal and you follow the process and you're careful about it, once you learn it, you can be consistent in your achievement. And after all, we want consistency. We don't want haphazard and sporadic results. We
Well,
would like to, yeah, go ahead.
I think that's why we feel so rattled, because I kind of like the 4 years of not hearing from the president, like every day. I kind of like I kind of like that, you know. And every morning I wake up and I'm like, what has he done? Like it's insane. Let me ask you this. So, and this is the killer.
Okay.
How do we justify having someone that's been convicted of 34 felonies, is definitely in these files, a pedophile, allegedly, we'll use that for legal purposes, but has actually been accused of sexual abuse, in the state of and fraud. He can't operate in he's a fraudster, cannot operate in New York.
How do you justify it?
Wait, one more thing.
Okay.
You know, the ACA. So I happen to be on the ACA, and it's free for me, right? And
Well, I don't know what ACA is.
they call it Obamacare.
Okay. Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
And it cost $37 million for them to subsidize it. They didn't do it, but they gave 40 billion to Argentina. We have the $300 billion ballroom, and we're going to war with Venezuela for no reason. And they're stopping the poorest of the poor from being able to get food. And they've laid off over 1 million people since the beginning. If someone asks me, why do I talk about what's going on in the world? It's because no one wants to. Mm-hmm. And if we sit back, it goes back to my original question when as a child that I posed to Leslie. I said, when the Holocaust happened, as a child, I was like, how did the world allow this to happen? And for those of us that are looking away while all this is happening, I don't know what to tell you, but
well, we didn't learn. We didn't learn from it then, did we?
But that's why you need to learn. That's why you need to know your history. That's why we need to talk about it. And I'd like to correct you, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
So, living in Florida is different. And I think you mentioned North Carolina. I'm not sure. I think that's
yes.
So
yes.
What's happening here is they're putting less money into education. They're restricting the books that you can read, and they're creating narratives for people to understand. So when we talk about a community, they don't know. Like, I honestly believe in my mind, in my heart of hearts, that there's a section of the United States that does not understand our true history.
Yeah.
And that as a country, we have failed because every other country makes sure that their young are educated. The poorest of the poor are educated, so that when they get out of it, you know, you have more. I don't want to say it. I don't want to paint a broad brush across everybody, but I truly believe that there are more people from other countries that take the opportunity in the United States to come here to get educated, because education is so important to them.
Yes.
I believe it's not fair that because I make more money than you and I can send my kids to a better school, that your kids are getting a subpar education. They'll never be able to catch up to me. And then, you know, when we go through it and we talk about love and understanding and good versus bad, you know, how can you tell a woman that she has to have a kid, but she has to have the kid. She has no money already. And I say this, and I think we should try this and see what happens. Okay, the woman has to have the kid. She doesn't want it. She gives it to the father. I bet you anything. I bet you anything. It would change. because it doesn't affect it. Right now, a man, unfortunately, can walk away
Mhm.
from his child,
Mhm.
and a woman is always there for that child.
Yes, yes, and during my years of working with women and the wage gap, um, the Institute of Women's Policy Research, IWPR, did a study for our state in 2010, and I think they did it in 1990. It's the economic status of women in this state. And according to all the statistics, it will be mid-century before women are earning the same as men. But this was before this particular regime came in. And right now, Bill, the best way I can describe what's going on is the inmates are running the asylum.
They are. You know who ICE is, right?
Of course.
They're the pardoned January
Yes.
6ers. Many of them are the pardoned January
Yeah,
6ers.
it's insane. And this is the polarity, right? We've always had these distinct and opposite views, but for some reason, the leaders who have normalized again treating women this way, no regardless, and treating not only women but anyone who isn't a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. And I lived in North Carolina when Eichmann in the 60s was on trial, and we were the only Jewish family. And let me just tell you something. My brother and sister would get off the school bus crying because what happened on the school bus was the children had been listening to their parents rant about Adolf Eichmann and likely saying, oh, it's not true, and those Jews, right? So, it was hard. It was hard, but we didn't know any difference. So people have to be ready and willing. And I think we're getting there because we've got nutcases, in my view, people who are just uneducated and unaware. They're not kind. They're not diplomatic, right? They really depict the mindset of money first, people second.
And
Because
that's the truth. It's really not about race. They did that to separate us. It's
this
really
is
about the
why
caste system.
the female reporters, when no one said anything,
Mhm.
this is the fear of poverty. It is so strong that if I say anything, he will call me out and I will lose my job. So even for reporters who take the commitment, right, for real news, they have the fear of poverty. The only people I think that can hold us together is our military, because their commitment to the Constitution and to the way of life that they grew up in, right, is stronger than the worry about losing their job and money. And it's faith and fear. The fear outweighs the faith or the promise that they've kept. And that's where the
Absolutely.
values come in, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love your Leslie Flowers thing behind you. A quick question to those out there in the audience. Are you guys okay? Are you enjoying the conversation? Is it too much? Let us know. And give me some questions for Leslie. Leslie, do you want to take a quick break?
No, I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you for
So
offering.
just making sure.
Unless you want to get rid of me for a little while.
No, 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 not at all. Not at all. So um let's take it back to the women's issue. And the
Okay.
reason why I wanted to have the conversation is because it's I in my opinion, it's great to have Leslie and me talk about women's issues because she's not standing alone. And if you look at how we actually got free, it was by us uniting and other people standing up, as opposed to me saying, well, that's a woman's issue and it doesn't bother me, or it doesn't. I have two daughters and an ex-wife who needs a job. And I want my kids to be able to do more than what I did. And I want them to have more opportunities than what I had. And I don't want them to be marginalized or put into a box or have less freedoms than what I had. But it takes us all to do it. So this conversation, um, I was just listening to you. I think you were on, was it? You were on Soul Man, and I said, Leslie, I'd love to go over these topics with you, because I want to bring it to the attention of everyone out there. I wanted to do it in a non-threatening way. And I want to be a champion for women. I want to be a champion for LGBTQ. I want to be a champion for the Hispanic community, everybody. If you have a good heart,
Yes.
if you are a good person, come on, we can vibe. If you are unaware and you are a good person, I can help you, or I will try my best to help you, because there are people that they just don't know. And because of what they've been sold. So I'm going to encourage everyone to think on their own, to dig deep, to understand what's going around you, because when the bottom drops out, you don't want to be standing on that floor. You want to move over to the corner. And I believe that when you unite as one, no matter where you come from, no matter what your differences are, it's greater. It's greater. By the way, did you know that I don't know you know about it, but I was one of the first people to start like jdate.com.
JDate? You did?
Yeah. No, Joe Shapiro and Alone Carmel started it. Do you know them?
No, but I know what JDate is, and I always hated Jewish boys. Right? That was my bias. So, for example, there's a whole bunch of jokes that I remember my parents used to listen to on Ed Sullivan, and one guy would say, the Jewish mother buys her son 2 shirts. He goes and tries one on, and she says, "What's the matter? You didn't like the other one?" Right? Those kinds of jokes. Right. That kind of humor was kind of gentle, but even my own children, they love, oh gosh, I don't even remember the name of the series, but it's a family and they're a Jewish family. It's kind of a modern series. Oh, Mama, reminds us of us when we went to a restaurant. You couldn't make your mind up about what you wanted. So there's some sweet things about it, but in general, it's time for us to encourage people to simply wake up. One of the things that disturbs me in both my children, one, they're married, long-term marriages. One is a Democrat and one is a Republican. Now, in one family, they don't discuss anything. So they just simply do not discuss it. But I can discuss with my son-in-law, who was a staunch Republican. And he can listen to me because we're very objective. And he tells me things I didn't know. Right. And I tell him things I didn't know. So there's never any emotion. We're very civil with each other. That's what's missing. People are so angry that they're fighting. We had Nixon and Kennedy. We've always had 2 sides, but never to this extent. That's why I know, Bill, that we're in for some really good times. I just can't tell you how long it's going to take for it to go back. And I don't want to see interracial marriages disrupted, same-sex marriages disrupted, all that work.
And that's what it was. It was work.
Real work.
Real work. Yeah. I like the world more open. I like people to be able to be who they authentically are in their body without shame. I am not going to sit back. My brother and his wife were at a bar, and the waiter was, I guess, very effeminate. And there were these two big burly guys. And my this is my little brother. He's a little tiny guy. And the guy kept harassing the gay guy. And my brother said, "You got to stop that." And I'm like, I would have done the same thing. Like, I have no clue why we are like that. Just like I told the guy, you need to stop saying that. It wasn't even a thought. I immediately just like, no, that's not right. I don't know if I embarrassed him or not. He seemed enlightened, whatever. But Justin grabbed that big guy and pushed him to the wall because the guy had punched the waiter, the gay waiter. And my brother, when he told me the story, it was with kind of emotion, like almost tears. But he said the guy came to him, and the waiter came to him and said, "I'm sorry about that." And Justin said, "Why are you sorry?" He said, "Because it happens all the time." So he'd gotten so used to people hating him for breathing that he apologized to my brother for removing a man that was about to beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And my brother said, he realized that the guy could like basically squash him. So he took his phone, he threw it across the room so that the guy would go chasing after his phone. So my brother could run out. It was very, very funny. But that type of living in fear, I don't accept. And it's ignorance.
It is. And Kenny said, when people know better, they will do better.
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing about awareness. And, I had an example in one of my rooms with a very good friend as I describe how you want to feel about the goal that you're going for strongly enough that it outweighs the natural fear that comes up because you haven't done it before. And I got to thinking about, I kind of lost my train of thought. Let's go back to you. I lost where I was going with that. I liked what Kenny said, though. That was when you know better. Oh, I know what it was. So this guy, I used the word obsessed, right? I used compelling, right? But what I didn't realize was that the word obsessed to this particular person, who I'm pretty sure had a Christian or certainly a Christian background, his mind with the word obsessed, it was negative to him. Right. And I asked him about it, and he told me, so I pretty well stopped using the word obsessed, and because it has a trigger to it for people, and I want the word obsession or the words that I use to translate into compelling, deep, unexpected, unknown desire for something. You want it, you're the one, you have to do it, you don't really know why, but you're doing it anyway.
Right.
That is obsession. People who came up with computers, the greatest gifts, think about the Taj Mahal. These people were obsessed, and it's actually an unbalanced mindset when you're in that place. If you've ever been around someone who is obsessed with their work. Kinga, you just
sorry, Kinga.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, this is all about diplomacy. So, but to your point, there is a way to let a person know and to teach them something small. And the way Jay did this is my friend Jay Pasqua.
Okay.
I was confused why he kept pushing back on the word. and then he told me, he said, because I have a completely different feeling around the word, so I don't use it much anymore at all, because there are a lot of people like him, and I don't want to trigger people. I want them to get the message.
Yeah, and I think communication is key. The fact that he told you allowed you to allowed you to course correct. Um,
That's right.
and a lot of times we step into it accidentally. I I don't know if you've heard me say I use the English language very loosely. I'm not mad when I say I'm mad. I'm just like, I use it loose. One time, I told one of my a guy that I work with, I said, "What's up, Duck?" Because when I grew up, there was like this "What's up, Doc?" So
Right.
I was like, "What's
Right.
up, Doc?"
Yeah.
But to him, growing up in Florida, a duck was a very bad term because we have lots of ducks and they're really stupid. And so I had no clue. Like I'm like, why is this
Right.
guy livid?
Right.
Because I'm what's up, duck? I wouldn't have gotten offended because I have no mental correlation between a negative stigma of a duck, right?
That's
Um,
right.
but he told me, and I was able to go. But he told me after I said, "Why are you mad?" Because
Yeah.
you could feel people's energy shift,
Well,
even if they
he
don't
was
say anything.
unaware. He probably didn't know he was mad. And I would say that 95% of our day is this automatic reaction. It's not thinking. It's really not thinking when you have that kind of reaction, but it does take over your thoughts.
It does.
And so only one thought prevails at a time. So we want to do as little as we can to distract people. And haven't you noticed that the thing we've lost the most is our ability to focus on one thing?
Yes. And I'm having a difficult time with that because um I am of a certain age and I'm doing this live podcast
Yeah.
and I love it and it's unscripted because if my worst shows are the ones that are scripted because I'm trying to read, but you don't really get the energy because I'm just reading words on a sheet. But
Mhm.
I like having real conversations. The problem with that is I'm my attention can get easily distracted, and
Yes.
then just like we've done today, I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw to you because I just forgot what I was talking about. But um, yes, I'm concentrating right now on the comments, on you, on the next video that's going to play. There's all these things, and I try to focus on. I've made more of an intention to just focus on my guests because
Mhm.
sometimes the comments they will disrupt my thought,
That's
and
right.
so and I did that for the first time last Sunday with Aaron. We didn't look at any of the comments. We just him and I just talked, and when we had a couple of I had a couple of gaps in there. He took over and he would read the comments just to kind of fill in the gap. But we were just having a conversation. We were letting whatever's going on over here
Mhm.
thing. Um, so how does life look after this?
Well, for me, it's choosing where to focus, who to work with, um, to clean up any regrets. And there's someone in the audience here that I love very much, that we have a broken relationship and he knows who he is. And so this is my chance to reach out to say that I've grown and I was wrong. And will you forgive me? And then I will have no regrets so that I've expressed myself. So it's more about,
So is that official? Is that what that's what you're saying to this person
yes,
right
they're
now?
here.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Because I'm a truth teller. And sometimes my truth is tough to hear. Keep in mind that there aren't as many old folks like me on LinkedIn. And so I have experienced some um, discrimination, right, by people who are unaware. that, well, what does she know? And I can remember back when I was a kid, I would look at old people and think, what do they know? Right? I'm living my life large. So I've had to experience that because I'm outspoken and I'm going to say what's on my mind. And people have their own points of view about what I'm saying. And there's some sort of joy in looking for the bad, looking for the errors. My daughter was a baton twirler, and the one drop is what everybody remembers. It doesn't matter that she would twirl 3 or 4 batons, they were lit fires on the end, right? It didn't matter what her routine was. Drop the baton one time, and everybody focuses on the negative. So it seems like we're patterned to look for what's wrong
Right.
rather than what's right. When both are there, when someone says something that hurts our feelings, we look around and we wonder, well, why do these people, why? But we've forgotten about the scads of people that love us. Why don't we focus then on those people when we need to know that we are loved? But I still believe it has something to do with our fears. And they're so strong that we continue to bring them back up over and relive them. And it's sometimes hard for people to get through. So thanks for letting me do that, Bill.
I agree with that. And I hope it was received well.
I'm sure.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm glad I did it because there was no other way to do it than this, and I didn't plan it, so I'm just excited that I got to.
Good. I'm excited that you got to do it too.
Thank you.
I am, and hopefully that's the beginning of a healing journey.
Yes, absolutely.
So
clean up your stuff. Clean up your own stuff.
That's what I'm concentrating on right now. Is getting my entire life back together. We have to live and let live. I agree with that. Lauren, you're not older. I don't know what that means. You're about 15. Kenneth is saying ducks are delicious. What's love?
Yes. You can't be negative and positive at the same time. So if you're heart-centered, you're in service. If you're ego-centered, it's all about you. You can't do both. And this is one of the things to clear speakers, and what a speaker will do, whether maybe intentionally, maybe not, is to remind themselves who they are for people. What are they doing there? What is the message? It's not how you look or how you're feeling necessarily, or your own worries or your own fears. It's about the message that it lands in a way to make a difference with other people. So it's an intentional practice, and it's something I do before I go live every time. So when technical things happen, it doesn't bother me, not too much, not really, because I don't want the technical aspect to interrupt what I'm trying to share. Right.
Absolutely. I think I have one more question for you.
Okie dokie.
I might have 2.
Okay.
Does anyone have a question specific? Love is speaking from your heart, William. Awesome program. Have a great evening. Thank you, guys. So I'm feeling a sense of unity. I'm feeling the country coming back together. I'm feeling hope again, and I feel like my life is opening up. It's very. I have this great sense of joy these days. And how did you get involved with the Legacy Chronicles?
Oh my goodness, how did I? Well, I think I was on Aaron's show and met Nick, and I wrote last year the first part of mine, and then this year I wrote the second. Last year was the first 25 years. This year is the next 25 years, and then next year, God willing, I'll do the final 25 years. But so I have a lot of books, and I've been a publisher,
Hmm.
right? So I've published some 18 books and lined edited them for other people right around 2015 to 2018. It's exhausting, and everything is changing all the time. So when Nick invited me to write in the legacy, it's a chapter, right? Most people have written something, a composition in high school that's about that long. The difference is, though, this is a story about yourself, so it can be transformational. But that's how I got involved. And now all I pretty much do is teach. I do have my one paid program next week where it's a 3-hour transformational experience where I teach you everything I know in the first 90 minutes, and then we connect with the universe, and you download all of your goals that you've never thought of and put them in priority order. It's a wild transformational experience. But I teach 2 times a week, and I do this so people can come in and begin to think positively at the beginning of their week, at the end of their week, and also are learning something. And it keeps people, I have not a large audience, but it's a consistent audience.
Yeah.
Right. So these are people that are hungry and thirsty to learn the things that they just didn't know before. That's how it is with goal setting. You just were never taught. And I have 500 documented 12-week goals based on this process, which comes from Think and Grow Rich and all my work, as proof of consistent achievement when you have one goal. And that also goes a long way to the discussion we were having about focus. There is such a sensory overload that people can't concentrate anymore, but you must be able to focus. So you have to do practices to develop your focus again. And there are ways to do that.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
So I had a question for you, and I didn't want to interrupt you, and then it just kind of flew out. So I have a question for the audience. So we have 2 different outros. Do you have anything that you want to share before we go out? We have 300 people still on. I mean, we've been on for an hour and 18 minutes. So I want to be respectful of your time.
Okay. What I would say, first of all, is thank you, everybody that has attended today in support of this conversation and Bill's program. It was an honor for me to be able to share some things that I've seen. And I hope, my intention is that there was a spark of something within you, however small, that has you realize that we are moving on up. We're ready to move on up. And this event that I'm doing is Thursday, is from 11 to 2 Eastern. DM me if you're interested. I'll shoot it to you. There is a fee. It's the only thing that I charge for all year. So that's thanks to everybody for being here. It was so nice to see people that I know so well. It means a lot to me, and that you invited me. Thank you, Bill.
That's super sweet. I have my outro for my brother talk that I did yesterday, or I have my favorite song is a song that I wrote about Nick and Aaron, but it has his Soul Man brand on it, so I don't know if I want to leave with that. Let's listen to it because it's my favorite song right now.
Are we going to go off live after this?
Yeah.
Did we finish? Okay. Well, I'm real good friends with Nick and Aaron too, so let's go with it.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Awaken of the day that
awakening of the phoenix. Cut the shirt, I'm fading fast. Yeah. Streetlight flicker, shadows pass. Heartbeat sounds like drums in rain. Blood on the road, but I feel no pain. Little dot of light in the black. Whirlpool's thin, I can't fight back. Yeah, yeah. Whispers flow through the dark. Her voice finds me like a spark. Oh, why can't I move? Why can't I breathe? Am I still here? Or just a memory? And the phoenix wakes inside my chest. Fire in the broken, hope in the mess. I was nothing but ash and dust. Now I rise because love said trust. Hey, yeah, I rise because love said trust. Yeah. Sleeping cold inside a car. Dreams feel distant, feel too far. Mind on fire, soul feels cracked. World keeps pulling, I keep slamming back. Insomnia living in my veins. Anxiety playing heavy chains. But a voice said, pull me through. Said your story ain't done, it's still you. I was lost, I was torn, I was torn, but was there in the storm. And the phoenix wakes inside my chest. Fire in the broken, hope in the mess. I was nothing but ash and dust. Now I rise because love said trust. Yeah, I rise because love said trust. Yeah, from homeless nights to borrowed life, from silent pain to stages bright. She pulled the truth out of my soul, made me believe I was still whole. She said write it, she said live it, she said legacy isn't given. Heartbeat louder, voices calling, spirits shaking, walls are falling, light gets brighter, fire gets higher. I am more than who they thought I was. I am the pH. I don't burn, I transform, I don't break, I'm reborn. Out the ashes, out the storm. I am the story, I am the light, I am the fire, I am the fight. Love built this legacy, and now watch me Soul Man legacy, yeah.
So that's my Soul Man legacy. It was, I had such a great week working with Aaron and Nick, and starting this week with you is even, well, it's not better. It's great. All of you have been great. And it has actually encouraged me because I was kind of feeling like stuck, in between. And yeah, things are going well, and I appreciate you. Bye, everyone out there. With love and light, we are signing off. Thank you, Miss Flowers.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You
Bye.
too.
No brother left behind. No, 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 born in the heat, raised in the grind, different mind, same bloodline. We talk loud, stand tall, make noise. Built this bond, no fake boys will wreck. Through the rain, still got your back. Same last name. When I fall, we don't run. Two kings, one sun, we don't fall. We ignite, power surging through the night. Stronger together, wire tight. We ride or die. Now that's alright. No brother left behind. No fear, no rewind. This is blood and lightning. You throw the spark, I light the flame. Every scar just fuels the name. When the noise gets loud, we roar. Roar, brotherhood built to endure. With the chaos and the calm, metal hearts and open palms. If the world tries to break the line, we fuse again and electrify. We don't fold, we ignite. Power surging through the night. You fall, oh brother. You fight, Philip and Justin storm divine. Two souls, one spine.